Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round number 13 of Season 6 of Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentis. I'll be taking you through proceedings here tonight for the San Marino Grand Prix, and joining me this evening is, of course, my regular co-commentary partner in Division 3, Jake Muttett, otherwise known as Killer Blue. How are you doing this evening, Jake?
I'm doing very well, as always, and said before I went on air, I am very much, even though we've only got 16 drivers to hand, I'm really looking forward to this race. It's Eloise's first visit to a new track, second visit to a new track in 4 races, so I think we're in for an absolute treat. Easy to get penalties, easy to crash, easy to bottle. I think we're in for a mad one this evening.
Yeah, definitely, like you say, could be a mad one. It's first time we've come to Imola. Imola, of course, new to the game, just over a month old now on this game, and it's fair to say, I think you've alluded to it already, this track is incredibly difficult. This track, though, is a real driver's track, isn't it? Portimao came in, it was very popular. This one seems to have a bit of a split of opinion amongst the drivers at the moment.
Don't get me wrong, I think it's fabulous to drive, but yeah, it requires absolute commitment at all times. You think the amount of chicanes we've got through Tamburello, Villeneuve chicane, Variante Alta, and up the hill, every single one of them requires 100% commitment from the driver, because if you show a little bit of hesitancy, particularly through Villeneuve, I think, and Tamburello, you're going to get caught out if you're not, your eye's not on the ball at all times. It's when you get it right, it's absolutely the best thing in the world. It just flows perfectly from corner to corner. You really get yourself into a rhythm, but when it's not going right for you, every corner just seems to bite at you, and it's awful to deal with over 32 laps, let alone just the one they have to face in qualifying. So I think we're going to see catch a few drivers out, and I think it's already caught one out, because Darragh Smith, I think, formerly was it Ecos Darragh, spun on the exit of Tosa there at the hairpin.
Yeah, IFR Darragh, it was previously.
IFR.
Yeah, Darragh. So that's just one thing as well. I'm going to touch on that. Darragh Smith, of course, a name change for him since he's left IFR in the week. Ariel Hacked, by the way, is not a new driver. That is passé, but his regular account has actually been hacked by the sounds of things. So he's on his old account that he has renamed specifically for this occasion. So we're getting ready for the first lap around the Imola circuit. Funky Chicken's going to be the first person out in the Aston Martin. 2 podiums in a row in the last 2 races for the Aston Martin driver. It's been a good run of form so far from him coming into this track. We head then through the Tamburello chicane, of course, reprofiled after that horrific accident for Ayrton Senna through that corner. Now down towards the Villeneuve chicane here. Very, very fast chicane. This one is very easy to get it wrong. He hops over the sausage curb on the inside of the second part, but gets away with it. 24.3 for the first sector. We could see people dipping possibly close to the 23s in that first sector. It's gone through the toes, the hairpin, and up to the top of the hill. Then very easy to invalidate on the exit of this corner. Keeps it just within track limits, as RJ has been disqualified for blocking the pit lane, which is a shame to see. So RJ already out of the session. Chill in the other Aston Martin has spun coming out the Tosa hairpin and has crashed out of the session. So that's 2 people out immediately in this one as we head into the Variante Alta chicane there. Funky Chicken, hopping over the curbs on both sides, which is very easy to do. Down the hill then into the final 2 corners of the lap. 2 90-degree corners to finish off this circuit. Downhill braking zone as well. Very, very easy to run too deep. Misses the apex a little bit on the last part and then loses the rear of the car. Well held. He managed to hold on to that one, but he dives into the pit lane as you would expect, losing the rear of the car. And already we're seeing it's been difficult so far. Darragh spun on his outlap. We've seen Chill crash. RJ's been done for blocking the pit lane, I think, trying to keep out of people's way. It's been a hectic session already so far.
It is, and it points to the fact that I was saying about these mistakes are going to come thick and fast. I think Brendan sets the first lap session 14.9, not particularly competitive for a first lap, particularly from Forza Brendan, who I think we expect a lot more. I think we're going to see times in the low 14s. But I'm going to say there's only 17 drivers in this session. We've already lost 2 of them. There's a good chance, so if anyone fancies sticking on a set of mediums and seeing they can get 12th, 13th, I mean, they're going to get that if they qualify softs anyway, potentially, but, you know, I think there's opportunity here for softs because people are going to make mistakes, people are going to crash, and you guaranteed no worse than 15th anyway. So I think that could be an option for some of the drivers today, but very timid first lap so far. Only one driver in the 14s. I thought we were going to see pole as a 14.2, 14.3.
Yeah, I was definitely having the same train of thought. I thought that as well, wondering whether some of these drivers, maybe the cooler conditions, it does seem to be a bit cloudy, so whether that's having an effect. As Tin Can actually comes across the line, 3/10 clear at the front of the field for the man in the championship hunt at the moment. That's a brilliant result from him. Of course, wasn't able to take part in Monza, unfortunately, due to some connection issues, so he needs all the luck in the world now to get right back in this championship hunt as we come towards the end of the season. He's at the front ahead of Forza Brendan and Peter Gillis currently in third in the Alfa Romeo at the moment, ahead of Darry. Drivers popping in their times, but they're still in the mid to low 115s as Brendan goes again on the same set of tyres, interestingly, and goes 4/10 faster. So he now pops himself back to the top of the timesheets in the Red Bull, a 14.568. That's a bit closer to what we're expecting at this point in the session. So clearly, Forza Brendan not happy with his first one and just wanted to get 2 banker runs in to make sure that he was nice and safe at the start of the session.
Yep, I'm surprised his Urs held on for as long as it did, because it does deplete quite rapidly, but clearly there was just enough in it for a second lap. DTR Brent has become the third victim of the Tozer hairpin. Chill crashed there, Dara spun there, and now DTR Brent has spun there as well. So that corner's really catching people out today. But that was a big lap from Brendan. He needed to respond to that Tin Can time. Couldn't let Tin Can sit at the top for too long, let him get comfy there. And he's thrown on a second lap. And I'm sure with that second lap, two laps on the tyres, I think he'll be confident he can improve and go again towards the low 14s like we were saying, because you don't want to do an extra lap on the tyres if you can avoid it. But that's a really strong marker that he's a 10th clear and has an extra lap on the tyres.
Yeah, has an advantage in his hand, something that he can work from there, which is good to see. Dara on the mediums, by the way, in 9th position, a 15.5. Isn't actually a bad lap on the medium compound tyres, but you'll be the medium tyres around here are around a second a lap slower than the soft compound tyres. They're not that fast in qualifying, so if he does put a set of the softs on, he could be right at the front of the field with his Red Bull teammates. So we'll keep an eye on Dara when he does go out onto the track on a set of soft compound tyres. I think Passe is going for another run on the same set of tyres like his Relentless teammate, but he's dived into the pit lane at the end of the run, so he won't be improving on that 15.4 for the time being. Stays in 8th, just behind his Williams teammate. So everybody is into the pit lane then. We've just got Karin Robb and Trench, the 2 Alpines on the track, out on outlaps at the moment. So we'll be able to talk a little bit about the championship standings. Obviously, we haven't touched on them just yet. We did mention Tin Can is in that battle. He's 43 points off the lead. Karin Robb is 41 points off the championship lead. Brendan leads after a brilliant win for him last time out in Monza. Further down, Brent and Luke battle for 4th, but they've been caught now by Funky Chicken and Rakurik. They are right there as well. J. Cole 8th, Calvi 9th, and RJ rounding off the top 10 in the points. So it's been a real run of form. We had a few rounds where Forza Brendan's championship lead was eaten away at, and then in the last, well, in just one round, his lead is completely blown up again.
Yeah, it was really from like lap 21 of Belgium, wasn't it? It swung in as far away from Tin Can as it could have possibly done, because of course he lost a win at Belgium and then couldn't make the race at Monza. So that was a huge loss and a huge swing in Brendan's favour. To be honest, I think it's going to be hard for Brendan to surrender this lead, but I'm sure Karin Robb will do the best he can. And his best is so good that he's just invalidated on the exit of Villeneuve chicane. So I've talked that one up. His first lap is not going to count for anything. And with 10 minutes left in session, already 8 minutes in, Karin Robb's not going to have a time on the board. And I say this every week, that the longer you go in a session without time on the board, the more pressure you put on yourself for the end of the session. Pressure you really don't need to have. He's got time for another 2 runs. But an unneeded moment there for Karin Robb, especially with his 2 rivals in 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, definitely not what he needs at all in the Alpine. He's been so strong in qualifying all season long, has Karin Robb, so we can expect the best from him. We'll wait and see what he is able to do, if he is able to improve. I wonder if he'll go again on the same set of tyres, or whether he will decide to dive into the pit lane. We'll just ride with him through the final of the Raptors. Oh, and he's lost the rear of the car there coming out of the corner, and he definitely won't be continuing on, because that's him nosed into the tyre barrier. So broken front wing for Karin Robb, just as it's looking like he was about to start another run. He's going to have to dive back into the pit lane, unfortunately, and that is another driver that has spun in this session. You mentioned it earlier on as well. 3 people have already fallen victim to the Tozer hairpin. Tozer necessarily not one of the corners you would expect for people to have that many problems at. It tends to be the Aqua Minerales usually where you see the most amount of mistakes from some of these drivers, but Tozer, on the face of it, not really a corner you would expect a lot of mistakes from.
I've made no mistakes at Tozer all week. I've made plenty elsewhere, Tamburello being the main culprit for me, but Aqua Minerale, as you say, but Tozer, very odd one. Pete Gillis, another retirement. That's well, that's our third driver who's not going to make it to the end of the session. That is on the exit of Tamburello at the end of turn 3. On board with Tin Can, he's on a very nice lap now as Ferryman. He was over a tenth up in sector 1, did a 24.0. He's just got the 2 Rivazzas to nail. Very tidy middle sector, and the first Rivazza's done nicely. You can hook this up so well. You can do it in one sweeping motion almost, the 2 corners together, if you get it right. And he's going to make a short dash to the line now, stays on the right-hand side, a 14.4, and blows are traded once again between Tin Can and Brendan. Tin Can back on top there.
Yeah, brilliant time from Tin Can, and these two now are, well, over half a second clear of the rest of the field. No one else seems to be able to get close to these two at the moment. Darry's on a lap. He has improved in the first sector. Trench has retired from the session without setting a lap. I don't know if that is on the track or in the pit lane. I think that's in the pit lane, interestingly. So Trench not setting a time at all. So that's now 4 drivers out of this session. Luke then in the second Ferrari. He jumps up into third position on a 14.8. Only the third driver to get into the 1 minute 14s. Funky Chicken coming to the end of a lap. He's not set a time as of yet in this session. He's coming up to the line now in the Aston Martin, and he goes fourth on a 14.9 from the Aston Martin man, trying to continue his run of strong form recently. Darry, though, is finding a lot of time in his lap as he crosses the line, and he goes onto the front row in the McLaren, finds nearly 6/10 of a second in his second run to do a 14.5. Brent's now crashed, coming out the Piratella corner, so that is another driver. We're now got 5 drivers in this session that have all crashed. Well, 4 drivers that have crashed out seemingly, and RJ disqualified. We're going to be down to nearly half the grid here.
Yeah, we're down to just 12 drivers for the last 5 minutes of the session. That's staggering. And again, Piratella, not a corner you'd expect a driver to drop it unless you're going far beyond the limits of what you know the car is capable of. I want to give a shout out to Dario. That was a mega lap from him, and he's actually going again. He's 8,000 subs. Brendan improves into the 14.3s now, but the gap only 600 between himself and Tin Can. It is mightily close up the front, but Darry, he's gone again. He's 9,000 up in sector 1. Darry's someone who's not really been anywhere near the front of the grid, just 1,000 up now in the middle sector, but he's not been anywhere near at the front really too much this season. But he's having a cracking race today, and he's within, say, still less than a 2/10 off pole position. There's still a chance here that Darry could get pole, and
Yes.
he's on a really nice lap, and I think he is going for this. He's going to go again, is he? He's staying to the right hand side of the track, as he must be up on his delta.
Oh.
But no, 400's down, almost.
Yeah, 400's down in the end, but on the face of it, he was derating for the majority of the rest of that lap. So to be only about 400s off in the end, off of his best time, with barely any ERS left in the car, that is a brilliant run from Darry, if that is the true reading of what's going on there. So there could be, like you said, a lot more pace in that McLaren a little bit later on in this session. Rakurik's gone up into 6th place in the Haas, has dropped Funky Chicken down to 7th. Peter Gillis, who was 3rd just a few minutes ago, is now down to 8th position in this qualifying session. His Alfa Romeo teammate Jay Luke has just popped himself inside the top 10. J. Cole and Colin Robb are now both on laps. J. Cole already half a second up in the first sector, as you would expect. His first time was on the medium compound tyres. Carwin Robb is coming towards the end of his run, so we'll ride with the Alpine as he comes down to the final 2 corners of the 2 Rivazzas to finish off the lap. Where can he put that car? Can he put it in and amongst his championship rivals of Brendan and Tin Can at the front of the field? Nice run through the final corner, and up towards the line comes the Alpine driver. He crosses the line and he goes to the top of the timesheets. 1 minute 14.276, just over a 10th clear at the front, and yet again the top 3 in the championship are the top 3 in qualifying.
I've waited for a qualifying session where it pans out that we do get the top 3 starting as the top 3, at least this late in the season. And I really hope it stays that way. I'd love it if Brendan's 3rd so we can get them in reverse championship order. J. Cole has just improved by over a second, but still only puts him P9, a 15.008. Some way off. I mean, if he finds another couple of tenths, he'll jump up into 5th, but I thought J. Cole would be more competitive here. I'm a little bit disappointed with the Mercedes man. I thought he'd have more under him, and it's unlikely that he's going to get a P11 start at this rate, because there's very few drivers behind him who are able to go quicker than him with the litany, the growing list of drivers we've seen who've retired or been disqualified in this session. J. Cole's put himself in a nasty spot there if he can't find any more time.
Yeah, he really has. One person who could improve is Darragh. He's just starting his first run on the soft compound tyres. Throws the car into the first part of the Villeneuve chicane. That was lovely through there. And it's a 23.9 for the first sector. That's a brilliant first sector from the Red Bull man. I think that's the fastest we've seen in this session so far. So Darragh already off to a good start in that Red Bull. Can he put himself in amongst those at the front of the field? He's been in these races, I think 3 times this season Darragh has raced so far. He's been up and near the front, in and about the top 5 or so in some of those those events, but he's not quite been able to get right to the front and challenge for podiums as of yet. As he heads through the middle sector, he's already 8 tenths up on a 15.5, which was on the medium compound ice. He's looking very fast at this point in the session. What can he find in the final sector of the lap? Can he put himself onto provisional pole? His Red Bull teammate currently on the front row, the championship leader, through the two advances. Bit of understeer through the first part, loses the rear of the car going into the second part and touches the gravel on the exit and dives into the pit lane as a result. But without that mistake, that lap was looking incredibly mighty from Darragh. Looks like Darragh's got quite a bit of speed here.
That was bitterly disappointing, not just for Darragh but for us as well, because you want to see as many the quick guys at the front if you can, so you have the best battle for the win possible. But that's a classic indictment of why you should not do your first lap on mediums if you don't intend to start the race on mediums, because you're just throwing away, as J-Luke retires now in the pit lane, you're just throwing away a third of your session for the sake of just having a banker on the board when you could just use a set of softs and set a competitive time. And now, because of that, Darragh's put everything on that last lap to validate the first one. He needs everything he's got to maximise his grid position, but that medium lap has really put all the pressure on it, and clearly he wasn't intending to ever qualify mediums. Bit of a bugbear of mine. Why do bankers on mediums if you're not going to use it? Just makes no sense to me, and it could cost him a pole position potentially.
Yeah, I think the only reason you can say is possibly to save a set of softs for the race, but with the speed that Darragh clearly has, I doubt he would need those set of softs of compound tyres. So yeah, a little bit of a bizarre strategy call to only have a time on the mediums at the moment. Luke is going to be the first person to start his final run. He's just passing the Williams and the Red Bull there of Forza Brendan, and I believe that is White Y that's just come out of the pit lane. So he's passed those and into the Tamburello chicane, quite wide at the first apex. Oh, and loses the rear of the car. He's into the barrier, and that is our 5th driver that has crashed in this session. That is out of Tamburello. That is almost identical to what happened to Peter Gillis at the very same corner. So easy to do. We didn't touch the sausage curb, just touched the curb on the inside, unsettled the car, and the barriers here are very, very close to the track.
As DJ Khaled would say, that's another one. And that's actually our 6th crash, RJ being in disqualification. That's 6 crashes and a DSQ, and we've only got 17 drivers in the session. You'd think we'd have about 30 for that to happen. It's absolutely bonkers that we're in this position, but here we are, and I think the first of our pole contenders to start his lap is Tin Can, and you can see mammoth commitment through Tamburello there. Tin Can, he's in a position he can afford to throw everything at this lap. He's going to go for broke. Wonderful commitment through Tamburello, and again through Villeneuve. He's 400s down, but it looked mega to watch. Hooks up Tozer nicely. We've seen some drivers taking a really wide line through that hairpin, but Tin Can getting the car nicely turned in, up towards Piratella. Very tricky corny, down, shifts 2 gears into 5th, quickly into 6th. Hill cascades away from you, flick it in, not once, but twice into Aqua Minerale. Again, like turn 7 at Spain, easy for the rear to kick out on you there. Tin Can has no such problems. He's at 10th up now through the middle sector. You can cut turn 14 as much as you like without getting invalidation. He does hook it up a treat, and now he's just got the 2 Ravazzas to go. We've got a Red Bull off at turn 3. That is Darragh coming, just starting his flying lap. So again, Darragh has thrown it away, but nicely done from Tin Can through the 2 Ravazzas. Just the short run to the line. Where's this going to put him? 14-2, 3 1,000s behind. Car win, Rob.
Wow, incredibly close. That was a brilliant lap, and it seems all of that time that he could have got from Karin Roberts in the first sector. Brendan is not improving on his run so far as he heads through the final corner. Can he find anything in this final sector to try and get back onto the front row when the Red Bull crosses the line? What a final sector from Forza Brendan. Finds 2.5 tenths in the final part of the lap. That's a 14-1 from Forza Brendan, but Karin Rob is already nearly a tenth up in the first sector, so he's finding a bit more time in the Alpine. He throws it through Aqua Minerale. Such a good track to see. Watch these drivers be on the limit. J. Cole's improved into 6th position. White Y could only go 11th. I think one of the McLarens, that's going to be Darry crossing the line. Can he improve on 4th on the grid? No, he can't. He stays 4th, but a 14-4. That's a brilliant lap time from the McLaren man. Passe will be next in the Williams, currently 8th on the grid. He crosses the line and goes up to 5th with a 14.5 to finish off his session. Where can Carwin Robb go? Can he get back onto pole position, or will Forza Brendan hold on to it? Carwin Robb, he retakes pole position by less than half a tenth of a second. A 14.106. Oh, is he? He's going for another run. Oh, he's into the pit lane though.
He was a tenth up at the end of sector 2, but I think he just scuffed his chicane a little bit. But yeah, there was more time in that lap for Tin Can, so I think we can safely say top 3 dead level. There is nothing to separate these guys.
Yeah, in qualifying at least, nothing to separate our three championship contenders. But yet again, it's Carwin Robb at the top of the timesheets. When will this man stop qualifying on pole position? He does it all the time, doesn't he? But Carwin Robb in the Alpine on pole by less than half a tenth over his championship rival and championship leader Forza Brendan, who is again on the front row, ever the consistent qualifier. Brilliant qualifying. The qualifying was, well, a qualifying session of attrition. I can't imagine how this race is going to be.
It's gonna be a mad one. I said I have a feeling this is gonna be a race. Well, I said we're going to see a lot of crashes. You said it'd be a race of attrition. I think we're on the same wavelength there. I don't think many drivers are going to make it to the end. We only got 17 starting, so we've already lost 3. I think we could easily lose half the grid here. I worry for some of these guys.
Yeah, me too. So there you go. Here's our qualifying order then. Beyond the top 3 is Darry in 4th ahead of Passe, Funky Chicken, J. Cole, Luke Rikurik and Peter Gillis, who crashed early on but still ended up in the top 10. White, J. Luke and Dara, the only other people to set times. Chill, Trench, Brent and RJ, all not able to set times in the session. 3 of them crashing out. RJ being disqualified early on in the session for blocking the pit lane. So, crazy qualifying session already, and just proving as well that it's even though Peter Gillis, well, set 1 lap time at the very start and then crashed almost immediately after it, he still managed to cling on to a top 10 result. Just goes to show how crazy qualifying was.
Yeah, that is sums it up, because Peter Gillis is not usually someone we see at the front of the grid, although he did have a marvellous race last time out. Where did Peter Gillis have a good race? It was Monza. I don't remember he crashed with his teammate, but I think he came through the field nicely. But yeah, he did crash with, I think, Rex it was at the Della Roger. But yeah, it does sum it up that you can crash and still cling on to a top 10, because so many drivers just threw that away at various points. I was shocked at the corners, though, that they were throwing it away, that it was Tozer that seemed to be the biggest culprit. I thought we'd see more cars die at Tamburello than anywhere else, but I think they only claimed 1 victim. But we should talk strategy. This is a clear soft medium, isn't it? And I think if anyone goes for the hards, they are brain dead. So I think we're going to see all softs in the top 10, as we have to, but I think we're going to see all mediums outside, because there's a good chance we're going to get a safety car at some point, probably multiple. So go long and just hope a safety car is well timed. And indeed, everyone outside top 10 on mediums, apart from Trench on the softs there.
Yeah, Trench on the soft compound tyres, which, fair play, 15th on the grid, not setting a time in the session. He probably will just want to try and get up a few places on this grid. Like I say, soft medium definitely is the way to go around here. You can pit from about as early as lap 8 for the medium compound tyres and take them to the end. It all depends, of course, on your setup and whether you can get those tyres to the end, but if you're running max pressures and you're good in your tyre temperatures, it is definitely possible. That's one thing though as well, tyre temperatures around this track, they're not as bad as we've seen at some other tracks, of course. Other tracks like USA, Bahrain, tyre temperatures can be, well, they can skyrocket at some tracks like that if you're not careful. Here, they can overheat. It's easier to manage, but especially those right-hand side tyres, both the front and the rear tyres, because of how aggressive you have to be through some of these corners, the right-hand tyres can overheat, and if you do step over a mark, it's so easy to lose it.
Yeah, they can, and it's not, you say, it's not much of a problem as some tracks, but there is a risk of overheating. Not too many high-load corners here. I think Piratella is the biggest one, but lots of slow-speed chicanes makes it a little easier to manage the tyres than, as you say, other tracks. Tin Can just pointed out something to me, which he asked, has Rob, Brendan and Tin Can all shared the podium this season? I can confirm they have not. So we're in uncharted territory here. Potentially we get all 3 on the podium. Brendan and Tin Can have shared the podium. Tin Can and Rob have shared the podium. Actually, Tin Can and Rob have not shared the podium. Wow. So that's an interesting little factoid for today's race. Brendan and Carl and Rob have shared the podium a lot. But we've not seen all 3 on the podium together, and we've not seen Rob and Tin Can on the podium together. So could see a little bit of D3 history today if we get all 3 title contenders starting together, finishing together. And I'm going to make that my prediction before you ask. We're going to see history. We're going to see an unprecedented Rob, Brendan, Tin Can podium in an order which I'm not brave enough to speculate on.
Yeah, well, good means I don't have to ask you the question. I think fair to say that all 3 of them look, at the moment, at least in qualifying, cut and dry, clear above the rest of the field at the moment. But I have a feeling this could be a real race of attrition, so I'm going to look to some of those medium runners a little bit later on to see what they can do. I think YHYY, one, to avoid carnage, is very good at doing so keep an eye on that Williams car 11th on the grid. Everybody is lined up, though, for the start of the race here in the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. We're waiting for the 5 red lights to come on ahead of the drivers. And it is lights out and away we go. And of course they start at an angle here on the grid, and Forza Brendan's got a good start. Tinkan barely moved off the line. The drivers behind already swamping the Ferrari and the McLaren who started on the second row, but Carwin Rob is going to lead them into turn one. They're side by side through the Tamburello chicane. Was Passe and Tinkan. Passe forced onto the grass. They're still side by side coming out of the corner. The top two have cleared off. Tinkan is going to hold on to third. They're 3 wide into the Villeneuve chicane. Darry's going to get back up into 4th position. Passe holds on to 5th with Funky Chicken in 6th position. Amazed they got through there without any problems. White try wise off at the back of the field. Front wing by the looks of things, so he's dropped to the very back as it stands. Luke and Peter Gillis side by side running up to the Piratella. Who's going to have the inside line? It's going to be Luke that's going to get the move done, it seems, down the inside. He holds on to 8th place. It's 9th for Peter Gillis. Rekurik down to 10th. Crazy. Rob leads. It's Darry.
Darry's round.
Oh. Darry's around. It looks like Passe in the ensuing carnage has backed off to not hit him, and Funky Chickens do. And J. Cole's going to try and make the move down the very end to Alton. He's dropped the car through the chicane there. Too much curb on the inside, and the Mercedes has spun around. Neither Darry or J. Cole hit anything, but they've dropped down to the back of the field. RJ, who started 17th, is already 9th.
What an absolute mad first lap. Darry and Passe nearly took each other out at Villeneuve chicane. I was amazed that wasn't a crash. We've got Dara and Trench coming to the pits on lap 1. Rikurik and Peter Gillis were both off track. They've nearly took each other out of the race at turn 3 round Tamburello. There were so many little incidents through the first 4 or 5 corners all the way down the field. The top 3, as you say, have done an absolute runner. Tinkan's done well to stick with them. Cohen Rob looks in menacing form. Funky Chicken 3 seconds back with Passe, Luke, Peter Gillis, who's had a cracking start, dragging Rick with him from their earlier shenanigans at turn 3. They've made a little break for it as well. And then we've got RJ, as you say, who's leading the medium runners. Huge gains for RJ, and he's making a habit of this last 2 races, just coming through from a nowhere qualifying position into a really competitive race situation. And we've got Carwin Rob at Aqua Minerali. Carwin Rob has dropped it. 2nd lap of the race, 2 drivers dropped it there. We've seen a 3rd at Variante Alta, and that's one of our title contenders gone.
Wow. That is massive for Carwin Rob. He looked like he had great pace on the opening lap, but on the 2nd lap, he has dropped the Alpine. He's going to drop it again at the outer. The cars are just too hot. He's dropped it through the chicane. 2nd in the championship. Needed a good result here to bring himself closer to Brendan, but he has thrown it away. The race is by no means over, but my word, that is massive for Carwin Rob's hopes in this championship. Forza Brendan leads with Tinkan in 2nd position. They are 3 seconds clear of Funky Chicken. The top 2 here pulled away, as they've done so many times this season. Forza Brendan and Tinkan, in terms of pace and racecraft, have been pretty much inseparable all season. They remain that way at the start of this race, but it seems like Tinkan is just struggling that little bit to hold on to the back of the Red Bull at this point in the race. DRS is now enabled. Funky Chicken very wide coming out the Villeneuve chicane there. Loses yet more time to our race leaders. The gap is now 4 seconds with Passe right there. Luke, Peter Gillis and Rekurik all in a queue. RJ has dropped Chill now by over 2 seconds. RJ on the medium starting to catch the soft runners in front. This is his 2nd race now as an official full-time driver in this division, in the McLaren. He's closing in. The medium tyres already on that McLaren looking pretty strong.
He's put himself in a position for a podium here, because he's going to be on the back of the Funky Chicken train in no short order, 1.2 off the back of Rick. So, as you said, he's really dialing into his new place in Division 3 as a McLaren driver. And I think we're going to see now, potentially, actually no, DRS is enabled next lap. I got ahead of myself there. Oh no, it is enabled. Yeah, we're on lap 3, starting lap 4. So we've got Tinkan with DRS on Brendan. Brendan's not broken the 1 second window, so I think we're going to see these guys towing each other around, and that's going to pull Funky Chicken even further away from them. You can see how much Passe is getting. Luke's trying to go around the outside of Tamburello, has a bit of a look, and has to back out of it, which puts Peter Gillis right round the outside of him at turn 3. Take a bow, Peter Gillis. That was fabulous.
Yeah, brilliant move there from Peter Gillis, and that's the problem with the Tamburello chicane, isn't it? It's very similar to Monza in terms of racing around this track, in that if you go for a move at Monza or at Imola and you can't get the move done, you are at massive risk of being overtaken by the car behind. Peter Gillis proving that with a lovely move around the outside of the third part, Tamburello. So he's now up into 5th place. By the way, Peter Gillis' best finish this season was 6th at Singapore. He's only finishing the points on one other occasion. That was Monza last time out. So he can try and get into the points for only the third time this season. Around 13, has a bit of a wobble there coming out of Aqua Minerale, but he's had a good start to this race. Funky Chicken does not look like he's enjoying this track at all. He's now 4.6 seconds off the lead, with Passe right behind him. Funky Chicken on a charge as well. Luke and Rikurik there to pick up the pieces. So at the moment, you've got to say, out of the 5 drivers in this queue for third, Funky Chicken looks like he's the slowest of all 5 of them.
And that's just handing the race on a platter to Brendan and Tin Can. But Funky Chicken got a good exit out of Ravazza too. He's not going to hold his place against Passe, who is thinking going to breeze past here. I think he's just about safe from Peter Gillis. But we'll see now if Passe's got any more pace under him than Funky Chicken has, or if it's just a DRS thing. It might just be that it's very easy to follow here. Passe having a little bit of a wobble through turn 3. Fast lap for Rob. I was going to say about Rob, actually, if there's any consolation for him, it's that this is a good track to drop to the back, because I think there will be opportunities for him to pull himself back into this race if the first few laps are anything to go by. And I'm surprised, actually, and by saying this, I think we would have had a penalty by now. I'm very surprised and very impressed that we've not had a 3-second penalty pop up so far.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to jinx it. We'll probably get one in the next 5 seconds or so. But yeah, I'm also surprised we haven't someone hasn't picked up a penalty yet. It's so easy to run wide here. By the way, there are track limits to look at for this race as well. Aqua Minerale, you can run wide at the second part and cut the inside of 13 and not get a warning. Same on the exit here of the very end, the outer corner. You can run wide and not pick up anything. So we'll be keeping an eye on that in this race. Forza Brendan still leads. Tin Can right behind him in second position. Less DRS in that Ferrari. He's sticking around the 7/10 gap at the moment. DRS is quite powerful here, as is the tow, and people tend to be running higher downforce here, so getting the tow and the DRS can really up your straight line speed, but Tin Can at the moment just doesn't look fast enough to be close enough to him. Doesn't seem that way. It's all further down. Funky Chicken's going back for it. Here comes Peter Gillis, trying to make it 2 positions in one corner. He's got past Passe. He's going to go around the outside of Funky Chicken. He's got it done. What a move from Peter Gillis.
Look at Luke as well. Luke's going to try and make Passe lose a 3rd place into Villeneuve. Oh my word, that was... Peter Gillis is having... He's unhinged today. He's motivated by that Max Verstappen pole position, and he is trailblazing in Division 3 today, because he's up into 3rd place, making some fabulous on-track overtakes. Certainly in driver of the first 6 laps, you have to say. Funky Chicken back ahead of Passe, and we'll see now... Because Passe did not get away from Funky Chicken at all on that last lap, and we'll see if Peter Gillis has got any more speed, because I'm not sure it's really a Funky Chicken problem. I think it's just a DRS is so powerful problem, because Funky Chicken's actually got more ERS than Peter Gillis right now, and of Passe as well. Passe is really struggling. I think Luke's going to get him in towards Ravazza too, because he's got so much surplus of ERS to use. They're going to be side by side into Ravazza 1. Passe has to brake a little bit later. That's going to compromise his line a little bit through 2. I think he's just about going to hold on though, but has he got DRS? And look how he has, but look how slow he was, not having any ERS to use. He's derating down the main straight, and I think Rick has got a chance here. He's got so much overtake, but Rick's not using it. He's going to hold back, but Passe hemorrhaging places here after looking like he could have been, well, he was 3rd for a lap, and now he's down to 6th.
Yeah, really struggling, and that's showing that lack of ERS is further down. Chill and J-Luke going side by side in the battle for 9th. J-Luke, oh my word, cutting back to the inside of the Villeneuve chicane. Going to look to the inside line, trying to get the move done on the Aston Martin, but he can't get through. Chill here, looks like he's struggling. There's our first penalty. It's Trench further down the field in 15th. As J-Luke going to try and go around the outside of Tozer here on the Aston Martin. As further back there, J. Cole trying to recover from his early spin. It's now side by side with Darry as they run up to the Piratella corner. Chill holds on to 9th. J. Cole, I think, is just going to hold on to 11th position. The 2 Alfa Romeos at the moment seems to be the one on the move as Rikurik gets past Passe. Passe's gone off on the exit of Aqua Minerale. Doesn't look like he's got any damage, so he should be able to continue. But that's now our 3rd driver in this race that's made a mistake at that corner. He's down to 8th place, luckily for himself. People are a lot further back as Carwin Robs crashed. Coming out of Aqua Minerale, his 2nd spin at that corner this race, and that's a virtual safety car. None of the leaders are in. Surely Peter Gillis... No, Peter Gillis doesn't come in. Funky Chicken does. Luke is into the pit lane. Rikurik is into the pit lane as well. RJ stays out. Peter Gillis not reacting to the virtual safety car. That could cost him later on.
Yeah, I think Peter Gillis should have been a bit more switched on there and dived straight into the pits. I think soft medium would have been fine from this point. But we've got... Luke's gone on to hards.
Ooh.
And Rick's gone on to hards as well. Yes, that's... Well, actually, maybe perhaps mediums won't go to the end. Perhaps they're not confident, but Funky Chicken has gone medium. J. Luke has gone softs. J. Cole and Darry have gone mediums. That's an odd one. And they're going to get their whole stop in under VSC. So that's huge that for Funky Chicken, for Luke, for Rick, they're all getting their full stops in under VSC. They're getting the full benefit of the virtual safety car. There's no turning green at the end as they're coming out of the pits. They've got everything, and that could be huge. We're back under green now, but that's going to cost Brendan and Tin Can a lot. And in fact, Tin Can's gained a lot under that. He's 4 tenths behind Brendan now.
Yeah, right on the back of him. Chill picks up a time penalty coming out of the Piratella corner. Interesting, though, that only RJ Chill and Brent stayed out of those on the medium tyres. Every one of the other medium tyre runners came in, which is quite interesting to see at this point in the race. Peter Gillis now only 5.5 seconds off the back of Tin Can and Forza Brendan. I think Forza Brendan was just slow to react to that virtual safety car because Peter Gillis has gained a second on the 2 leaders on that last lap. The 2 leaders stay out for another lap. Peter Gillis, you've got to say now, has just got to stay out and just try and extend a little bit further on the soft compound tyres. If he comes in now, he's just lost places for not really any benefit. He's got to go maybe a couple of laps further and hopefully hope that those that have pitted now struggle towards the end of the race.
Yeah, if he goes long, he can try and create a nice little tyre offset, have some fresher tyres for the end, like you were saying. I'll just keep an eye on the gap between Brendan and Chicken. It's 29.2. It's about 27 for a pit stop. So they've lost about 4 seconds, have the leaders, to those behind them, I believe. But that gap is actually climbing. We've got a yellow flag. Trench is round at the exit, the very end of the Alta. Has he had some kind of crash? That's a long way down the straight. Yeah. That's a weird place to lose it. Darry passes J. Cole as well. I want to know what happened there with Trench. That was bizarre. I think he must have come together with YHYY.
Yeah, must have done. It's hard to know where to look at the moment. So many drivers have had moments in this race. I think Trench will be coming into the pit lane, but so far it's been a disaster for the Alpines in this race. Trench with no front wing has to come in. Funky Chicken then, medium compound tyres for Funky Chicken, in a net 3rd position on the road at the moment. Luke and Rick have gone for the hards, so we've got to keep an eye on their pace. They've already dropped out of DRS race for Funky Chicken. Yeah, Tin Can in, okay, so he's going for the undercut on Forza Brendan. So we'll see what Forza Brendan does on the next lap. Peter Gillis is into the pit lane on this lap as well. So 2nd and 3rd into the pits. Forza Brendan continues for another lap. We'll see what pace he's got on the medium compound tyres and whether he could hold on to the net race lead. But at the moment, Forza Brendan and Tin Can are so far clear of the rest of the field that it's not too much of a panic for him, you've got to say. Hards for Peter Gillis at this point in the race. That's the wrong call, surely. The hard tyres are the wrong call from this point in the race. Yeah,
I think that's the second wrong call that Peter Gillis has made. It started so well, but staying out in the VSC was his first mistake, and then putting hards on was his second. And look, his teammate Rick here is going to go around the outside of Luke into turn 1. The 2 hard drivers tussling away, and Rick's got that move done on the Ferrari. But I'm surprised Tin Can pitted, you know. He was 4 tenths behind Brendan. He was going to get that move done on the DRS, I think. He was finally close enough to make it work. He could have got ahead of Brendan and then pitted. So I was surprised he didn't stay out the extra lap, get the move done. And we've got a yellow flag. That's Brent that's made a mistake at the exit of Tozer. I think he did the same in qualifying. He's going to hold up Tin Can here, actually, which is going to be cause a bit of a problem for Ferrari. He must have lost a few tenths there with Brent going so slowly. But yeah, I thought Tin Can was going to make that move and then pit. But interesting that he was very aggressive, came in nice and early. And we'll see if Brendan reacts, and he does.
Yeah, into the pit lane then at the end of lap 10. So medium tyres should be nice and comfortable and easy at this point in the race to get to the end. We'll see where he comes out relative to his championship rival, but you can see the gap that shrunk between Tin Can and Funky Chicken. Now just 2.5 seconds, what was over 6 seconds before the pit stop. So yeah, that's played lovely for Funky Chicken. And the fact that all of the people he was racing with behind him have gone for the hard compound tyres seems to maybe have saved Funky Chicken in this race, you've got to say. He was struggling a bit for pace. Peter Gillis seemed the fastest of that queue of cars, and Rick and Luke were looking aggressive as well. Tin Can has jumped Forza Brendan in that process, but Forza Brendan is still right behind the Ferrari, so it's by no means over here. But that one lap undercut has worked nicely for Tin Can. He takes the net lead, Brendan down into 2nd, but with all the hard runners behind, I think Funky Chicken here could have been saved a possible podium place, and that could be his 3rd podium in a row.
He's in a really nice place, Funky Chicken, and like you said, the hard runners behind him worked out an absolute treat. And the thing to note with Brendan, actually, is he's more than a second behind Tin Can. He's out of DRS. If Tin Can has a pace advantage in the race compared to Brendan's going to really struggle here to turn this round unless Tin Can makes some kind of mistake, which, given the track, I wouldn't put it past him. But all past anybody. But big for Tin Can that he's not just undercut Brendan, he's put him out of his DRS range, and I think the gap is actually increased since Brendan's come out of the pits by about 0.4 of a second. So very nice call from Tin Can. Shows me right for trying to say he should stay out another lap.
Yeah, it's definitely worked nicely for the Ferrari. See what Forza Brendan can do. Still 20 laps to go in this race when we cross the line, and these two are still comfortably clear at the moment of the rest of the field. A 17.3 for Tin Can. That's a brilliant lap time on that last lap for the Ferrari, but maybe it's just taking a lap for some of the medium tyres to bed in, so we'll see what Forza Brendan can do on this lap. They're pretty much identical on ERS usage at this point in the race, so it's all about raw speed from here on out. What can Forza Brendan do to try and close in on Tin Can? Has Tin Can taken too much out of those mediums too early on? Now we've just got the two drivers at the front. RJ and Chill have not pitted yet from their medium compound tyres. They'll be going likely to around lap 20 at least before they think about pitting for the soft compound tyres. RJ at the moment completely in a race on his own, miles clear of all the people that he started around, but still maybe a little bit detached from those that he was racing a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, if he pits now, he's going to come out around his teammate Darry. So yeah, not too great for him. I mean, he's got Brent behind him who's still yet to pit, and Chill as well. So he's actually a net 10th is RJ. So he's lost to place due to the VSC. Not too bad. He's still in a good situation. There's every chance another safety car could come, because you'll see on your minimap we've got quite the train behind Brent right now, and that's going to incite, I think, some wheel-to-wheel action. Wheel-to-wheel action. Particularly here, I think, is going to incite perhaps potentially collision, controversy, and maybe an SC as well. So there's every chance for RJ to make this work. But right now, the VSC has just cost those medium starters a little bit of time.
Yeah, seems that way, doesn't it? It's cost them a little bit on that last lap, by the way. Tin Can and Forza Brendan, almost identical lap times on that last lap, as Ricky is going to get that move done on Brent in towards Tamburello. Luke's going to try and follow him through, but he's not close enough down the end of the straight, and the braking zone for Tamburello, of course, is very shallow, so Luke can't try to dive Brent, nearly losing the rear of the car there, and he's actually going to move out the way of the Ferrari on the way into the Villeneuve chicane. So in the end, Luke's not really lost a lot from it. Now it's Peter Gillis' turn to have a run at the back of the AlphaTauri as they come out of Tosa. That's kind of been Brent's Achilles heel this whole night long so far, has been the Tosa hairpin, and there you go, loses the rear of the car again coming out of the hairpin this time around. But Peter Gillis will want to get this move done to try and get back close to Rikurik, and Luke at this point in the race can't quite get the move done as of yet. That's another thing we've got to talk about this track as well, is that apart from Tamburello, there's not really another overtaking opportunity on this track.
No, I think if you're lucky, you might get something into Ravazza. If someone makes a mistake coming out of Alta, there's a chance there. It's easy to slip up through Variant Alta, so there's every chance that there could be a little something going there. But yeah, I think you're right in saying it all. And Brendan, Tin Can had a moment out of the Ravazza too. Brendan very nearly followed him. Both had big moments on the throttle, and I think that's a much more trickier corner than Tosa to get the power down. But yeah, as you say, Tamburello, really the main overtaking opportunity, possibly one into Tosa if you make a mistake through Villeneuve, same again into Ravazza if you make a mistake through Alta, but pure racing, I can't see a move taking place anywhere else. We've got J-Luke and Passe swapping places. Feels a long time ago now, doesn't it, for Passe, that he was running in P3 for that solitary lap. It's not gone for him very well on that race, this race since then.
No, it hasn't, unfortunately, and it's weird to see as well for Passe. He pitted obviously under the virtual safety car at the same lap as the majority of other people, but on the medium compound tyres, Passe doesn't have the pace of Peter Gillis, Luke and Rikurik at this point in the race. And to be fair to Rikurik and Luke, as Peter Gillis picks up a penalty, Rikurik and Luke have kind of levelled out the gap now between themselves and Funky Chicken. It was growing. They've only lost about a second in the last 4 or so laps to the back of the Aston Martin, which I thought it would be a bit more than that. So it seems like at the moment, at this point in the race at least, the hard tyres aren't as slow as we maybe first thought. They're looking pretty solid. The hard runners don't seem to be struggling for grip, so it could come back to these drivers a little bit later in the race.
They do look in a good way, don't they, the hards? As you say, they're not too bad. Rick and Luke are going along nicely. Funky Chicken, meanwhile, is really falling back from Tin Can and Brendan. I know Tin Can and Brendan are somewhat in a league of their own, but you'd expect Funky Chicken to not fall back at the rate he is, but he's got really struggling for pace today. Virtual safety car came out well for him. Dara's had a moment just before having the exit of Aqua Minerale, so he was already at the back, so no harm done for anyone there. But yeah, Funky Chicken, he's not having the best of days, I don't think, and he's going to quickly find himself falling into the clutches of Rick if he doesn't find a little bit more speed.
Yeah, he does. There we go. Peter Gillis around the outside of Brent as well. When Jay Luke, his teammate's going to follow him through, and Brent's lost it. Coming out of Tozer, Passe has to dodge the AlphaTauri, and that is at least the third time that Brent has come a copper at Tozer this evening. Tozer, a horrible corner for the AlphaTauri, and it's fair to say that the two Italian rounds of Brent have gone horribly wrong. He was looking so good. He's fourth in the championship at the moment, but neither Monza or Imola have gone his way.
Nope, and he was on such a good run of races, and now he's just spinning for fun. I think at Piratella his tyres are absolutely baked, and he's down in 13th just with White Driver Company. And Dara's retired in the pit lane. Brent's got a penalty, so we've seen a few penalties got in now. Darry, J. Cole, Piglis all in the last couple of laps, and I think we're going to see a change for the lead here, because Brendan shaped left, he went right, and now he just surges around the outside of Tamburello. That was marvellous from the Irishman. Tinkan tried to dupe him into attacking the wrong way, but Brendan wasn't having any of it. He's made that move stick. Neither of them have any ERS to play with, though. Now they're both under 20%, but Brendan is back into the lead of this one after losing it through the pit stops. I have to say, though, they're not. And they're going to run into the back of Chill soon. That could be interesting to see how quickly they get through him, because we know what Chill can have moments of madness at times. Not finished a huge number of races this season, or started them for that measure. So we'll see how that goes. But big for Brendan that he's through, because if he wins this race, I have to say, I think that could be curtains for the championship.
I think I've got to give you that one. We've not only got 4 rounds to go after this championship, after this race is finished. So, 104 points up for grabs once this race is done, left in the championship. Car and Rob, you've got to say, even if Brendan and Tinkan are on the podium, the championship's pretty much over for Car and Rob, unless we have some horror shows for Tinkan and Brendan at the end of this season. But Brendan's just had a real run of consistency, and so far this season, even when it's not gone Brendan's way, neither Tinkan nor Car and Rob have really been there to capitalise. Here comes Tinkan, by the way, back on Forza Brendan. Oh, going to duck to the inside at the very last moment, and nearly ran clean into the back of the Red Bull. They nearly make contact through Tamburello. That could have been an almighty crash between the two of them. They just about get away with it, and Tinkan's going to try and get the move done down to the Villeneuve chicane. He's not close enough, but that is one thing. We saw it in real life, Imola. We're seeing it here as well. As the track kinks towards turn 1, it's hard for the driver behind to try and pick a lane. I think Brendan was just in the middle of the road, and Tinkan couldn't decide whether he wanted to go to the outside or the inside, and in the end made his mind up too late.
Yeah, I think Tinkan will be complaining under his breath about Brendan for that one, but I think Tinkan moving across the track makes Brendan just staying in the middle looks worse, and the angle of the track doesn't help as well. You just stay middle, and it looks like you're cutting across, and it was exacerbated by the fact that Tinkan was coming across the track as well. I don't think Brendan did anything wrong, but Tinkan, I'm sure, will not be too happy. Penalty for Passe, down in 10th place. Everybody outside the top 8 now on a penalty, Chill being the other one up in P2. But Brendan's still out of Chill's DRS because of that, and that's going to give Tinkan another chance, another shot towards turn 1, but Brendan, I think, is too far ahead this lap at least. And further back, actually, we've got a lovely Rickerick queue going now.
Yeah, we have. The gap now between Funky Chicken and Rickerick now 4 seconds. As further back, Passe all of a sudden seems to have a turn of speed, and he's onto the back of Peter Gillis. Peter Gillis was overtaken by his teammate on the previous lap, and now Passe trying to get the move done, but he's got 0% ERS, so he can't do anything in a straight line against the Alfa Romeo in front of him. Luke was thinking about a move on Rickerick as well, not quite close enough, so he will stay in 7th place for the time being. That will turn into 5th once we see RJ and Chill into the pit lane in maybe a couple of laps' time. And the battling between Forza Brendan and Tinkan means that they've still not technically caught Chill yet. They're still... Brendan's now somewhat within DRS range, but they're still not close enough to passing Chill or have passed Chill yet. So they're focused quite heavily on one another. I think luckily for them, Funky Chicken just doesn't seem to have the pace to close in on them. Seems that way, yeah. So Rickerick in 6th position, 4 seconds back. Luke right behind him. I wonder if Luke starts to struggle on these hard compound tyres now, because using the DRS he can close in. He can't get close enough to the back of the Haas, and now he's really on the cusp of losing that DRS.
He is, sorry about that. I was just taking a drink. RJ into the pits, finally. Wow. So he's going to go softs. Chill not going into the pits, so he's going to give Brendan a nice little tow here down towards turn 1, which I think is going to spare Brendan any pain from the Ferrari behind. Penalty for Brent, another one at the back there. But yeah, Funky Chicken, he was getting caught by Rickerick, but now he seems to be in no man's land, and he's actually pulling away. Brent's dropped it again, at the Variante Alta this time, so he's exploring the track to its fullest, stopping for a few donuts here and there. Peter Gillis having a look on J-Luke into turn 1, Another penalty for Brent. That's 2 in about as many corners. But yeah, Peter Gillis, he's still looking very racy despite that sort of fluffed pit stop, if you like, during the VSC and the switch to hards. We've got a yellow flag again for Brent, who does retire on track.
Safety
and that
car
has caused a full course safety car. RJDW XLRJ, how do you like your luck? The lap after he comes into the pit. But I'll tell you what, there's a good chance those hard runners ahead of him are going to pit anyway for some fresh softs. So I don't think all hope is lost for RJ. I think we could see a few ahead go for the softs. The question is, did Tin Can and Brendan pit for softs? I don't think Brendan can. I think Tin Can maybe risk losing a place to Funky Chicken for the sake of some softs, because Rick's going to pit surely on those hards. You'd think Luke would as well. So we'll see. Yeah, Tin Can in, Brendan staying out though. As I predicted for a change.
Splitting strategy then, as Funky Chicken's followed him in. So Funky Chicken also pitting for a set of soft compound tyres. Rikurik and Luke, you've got to say, are going to come in as well from those hard compound tyres. Rikurik is in, Luke stays out, J Luke is into the pit lane. Peter Gillis has to stay out because his teammate was directly in front of him. So Rikurik and Peter Gillis are going to be the ones that are going to be a little bit stuck here. Passe has stayed out as well. RJ, of course, has stayed out, but I mean, we say his luck, and RJ's still 5th, so he's still in a very good position in this race on barely used softs at the moment. So still looking good for RJ. Tin Can's down to 7th. The problem now for Tin Can is that RJ and Chill directly in front of him are both also on soft compound tyres. So Tin Can, he's got to worry about getting past the other soft runners, let alone the 2 hard and the medium runners in 2nd down to 4th.
I think that was a risk worth taking, though, because I'm not sure how confident he was being that he's going to beat Brendan on track. It's a risk worth taking. But I think Luke and Peter Gillis and Passe might have won this race for Brendan. Brendan will be so thankful that they stayed out. Otherwise, he would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7 or 8 fresh softs behind him. So Brendan can only be thankful that they've stayed out. But if I was Luke and Peter Gillis, or Peter Gillis or Passe with penalties anyway, I'd still come in, put the softs on, because you know you're going to get absolutely mauled by those softs behind you. And that's something I'd rather stay out of personally. So if I was them, I'd still come in this lap and just take the pain of going to the back and hope that the carnage of a late safety car wreaks its havoc on the cars ahead, because I would hate to be a target right now, particularly at a track like this where it's so easy to make a mistake. I wouldn't want it to happen to me, but all power to them for trying to hang it out on those hards, but I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think Luke taking the risk. I think Peter Gillis was kind of almost forced into it, wasn't he? He was directly behind J Luke on the track, so I think maybe he thought track position in 3rd position. If he pitted behind his teammate, he probably would have come out very close to White White, if not behind White White at the back of the field. So it would have been a bit of a horror show for him at the back, and he's gone for that track position. We could have, like you say, more safety cars. If they're bred from the back of the field, they could just safety car their way to the end of the race. We've seen it happen before, where we get multiple safety cars in the closing laps of a race, and people just stay out and avoid the carnage. I think, well, we were both involved in that in a Division 2 race not too long back, so that could definitely help them, but I fully agree with you. If it was a Brendan now, thanking his lucky stars that 3 drivers stayed out, and the 2 lead soft runners are people that haven't had the pace of the likes of Tin Can and Funky Chicken in this race.
Yeah, it's fallen very nicely for Brendan, and that wasn't something he could preempt, I suppose. Luke, Peter Gillis, and Paste staying out, but it has just come to his rescue. I think we are going to get a safety car in this lap, because everyone, despite how spread out it felt like the field were, we are going to get a safety car in this lap, because everybody has nicely caught up to the back of the pack, including YHYY right at the back there, who's had a very sort of quiet race. I don't think I've even noticed him today. I feel unfortunate for Darry. I want to give a shout out to him as well. Good qualifying, but...
Oh, J-Cole spun it.
J-Cole spun it.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's a... Yeah, we won't... Well, we don't like it in LOE when drivers spin on the safety car, because it seems to happen a lot, doesn't it? But if you're Brendan, where are you going to go? I'm saying between Ravazza 1 and 2. You don't want to leave it to the line, because you're just inviting, make yourself more predictable. You're just inviting Luke to grab a toe. If I'm Brendan, I'm going right about between Ravazza 1 and 2. I'm going right about now if I'm him, but he's going to take it late as possible, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to wait for the apex of the corner, but I don't think that's just going to wait until after the corner. He's still not gone. He's gone now, coming out of the corner, and Luke's not responded to it, so that's worked quite nicely for Forza Brendan. He leads then under the safety car restart. Passe, though, all over the back of Peter Gillis, coming up towards Tamburello. Is he going to be able to duck to the inside line of the Alfa Romeo? He's on the grass on the inside, trying to look for a move down the inside. He's late on the brakes. He's cut the corner. And Peter Gillis side by side with him on the exit. They make a bit of contact on the exit of the corner. RJ is going to try and capitalise on this one. Chill's right there as well, coming up towards the Villeneuve chicane. Oh, and Chill, Peter Gillis had to back out of the corner. Chill didn't recognise it. He's driven straight into the back of the Alfa Romeo and broken his front wing. Chill's going to drop right to the back. Peter Gillis kind of forced out of line there at the corner, had to back out of the Villeneuve chicane, and RJ's already back up into fourth. And I tell you what, RJ here is looking very good for his third podium in a row.
The man has so much luck in these races. I have no idea how he's doing it, but third race in a row, the way the race just swung towards him, you'd think it was like Brendan at Hungary, the luck that RJ's had these few races. And Tin Can, why are you trying to put that move on Peter Gillis into the variant alpha? That is a brain-dead move. There's going to be no way through there. It's so narrow. And look at this, we've got RJ ahead trying to have a look at Passe. And RJ needs to clear these guys quickly because he can win this race. He's not got a penalty. RJ can very much win this race, but he needs to get Passe and he needs to get Luke very, very quickly. He's going to try and make a move on Passe now. He's got more ERS, sorry, and I think he's through. He's made it stick. Passe not willing to fight a guy on fresh softs. So RJ's through, and he knows now there's a huge chance to win this race. And then more importantly, Tin Can is through on Peter Gillis. Tin Can's released as well. And there's such a train behind Gillis all the way back, those hards bottling everything up. And in fact, RJ's got past Luke as well now into Villeneuve. So wow. RJ is completely released to attack Brendan.
Yeah. Could he be on for his first win since Russia last season? That would be amazing for RJ there in second place in the McLaren. Tin Can now got his hands full trying to get up to the back of Passe, and Luke has got to do it now as Funky Chicken down the inside out to the Piratella corner. He's up into sixth position. Peter Gillis, like you said earlier on, just getting swamped on those hard compound tyres. Chill's been into a place that front wing. He's now down at the back of the field and the only car outside of the points positions at the moment. Recurrit will be the next to have a go at Peter Gillis. What a race this could have been for Peter Gillis. He was running up in the podium places earlier on. It's now looking like it's going to be unlikely he scores a top 10 here with Recurric, J-Luke, Darry and J. Cole and White Rawai all swarming the back of the man on the hard compound tyres. RJ then 1.4 seconds into the gap, and in a lap he's already broken the DRS gap back to Luke. Tin Can's already on the back of Passe as well. These soft tyres look so fast at this point in the race.
They are, but I don't think Tin Can's going to get the move on Passe because he's run out of VRS. He's used it all up, and that's not going to be very helpful for when he comes up to the back of Brendan, if indeed he does. He's only 2.8 seconds off the lead right now. He needs to save some overtake as Rickerick goes skirting over turn 2, trying to get past Peter Gillis. Darry slips through, J-Luke slips through, Peter Gillis is off the track at exit of turn 3. He's out of the race. Is that another safety car? Because if it is, that's going to ruin Brendan's race yet again. I think we've just avoided it. But J. Cole and J-Luke go side by side through Tozer. But that's, well, it's freed up all of the soft runners a treat, hasn't it? That crash for Peter Gillis, and the Tin Can is through on Passe now. His teammate, I don't think, will have any qualms about jumping out of his way, which means that Brendan's going to find himself very vulnerable very quickly. And indeed, there is Luke. He's letting Tin Can go. And in fact, is that Funky Chicken trying to go up the inside into the Variante Alta? We saw Tin Can do that on Peter Gillis. It didn't work, and it doesn't work again for Funky Chicken. But, my word, what a lap.
Yeah, been a crazy lap, hasn't it? Peter Gillis then out of the race, which means we've only got 12 people left. Everyone at the moment is scoring points in this race. Funky Chicken nearly taking the back of Passe's car off there. He's so late on the brakes, and Passe, big slide through the second Vatsa corner there. Easy move for Funky Chicken before he's even opened the DRS. He gets the move done. Funky Chicken's up into 5th place. RJ is now on the back of Forza Brendan with 8 laps to go in this race. The gap is only 0.3 of a second at the front of the field. It's Forza Brendan leading on older mediums. RJ on fresh softs. Tin Can 3.5 seconds back as well, trying to close in. Funky Chicken not out of this one just yet either. He's up into 5th, and he's just got to get past Luke, and he will be having a run at Tin Can, possibly for the podium. Darry, from a horror show at the start of the race, is flying his way back through the field, and that is great to see, isn't it? Darry had great pace in qualifying. The start of the race went horribly for him, and he's now starting to claw his way back through.
Yeah, he's got a real chance of a great result here, although no one ahead of Passe has a penalty, which he might find slightly problematic. Let's have a look. 3 seconds for him. No, nothing for anyone in the top five. No one actually has more than 3 seconds right now. Funky Chicken right on the back of Luke. The people who did not pit are really starting to suffer. RJ within 4/10 of Brendan on the exit of Variante Alta. I don't see how Brendan is going to be able to defend this lead. He's got way more ERS, but I don't think RJ will need to use any because he's so close to the back of that Red Bull. Tin Can 3.5 seconds off Brendan. It's going to be close between Brendan and Tin Can between the end of this race, but I think RJ might just be able to get past. He is going to get past, and I think he's going to run and hide if he's got any pace in him. He's got better tyres. And we'll see if Brendan can hang on, but I'm not sure if he will. If Brendan can hang on, that's crucial, because he's not going to allow Tin Can any chance pass. Darry is past Passe into one. J. Cole's going to try and have a look, but J. Cole is just not really swinging for him today. As he had that moment at turn one, he's looking around the outside of Passe at 3 and just gets shoved onto the grass almost there, but not really working for J. Cole today. A track I thought he would run very well at. Penalty for Chill. Again, he's our first one onto 2. And we've got Luke and Darry still in very close company on the exit of Tozer there, but RJ into the lead.
Yeah, RJ into the lead of the race. If Forza Brendan can cling on to the DRS range of the McLaren, that would be great for him. You could maybe use RJ almost to pull him along at this point in the race. That would be massive for Forza Brendan if he can do that. Surprisingly, Tin Can's not closing in as much as I thought. It's only 2.9 by the time they've got to the second sector split, so he's not actually really closed in at all on this lap so far. I don't know if it's just because he's run out of ERS, and we know that this track is relatively high speed, but is the lack of ERS for Tin Can costing him possibly a chance of closing in on the back of Brendan? Brendan does just get DRS on the back of RJ. He's going to have to use that ERS to close back in on the rear of that McLaren, who is also derating now, but I wonder whether the lack of ERS for Tin Can is just costing him really any chance of closing in.
Yeah, Brendan's playing this really sensibly. He's keeping all of his errs intact. Darry now past Luke. But yeah, Brendan, on 55%, he's doing a good job. He didn't actually get DRS on RJ. He just missed out. But we'll see if Tin Can can pull himself into the middle sector, because he needs some big corners here for Tin Can to pull himself in. I don't think he has the pace right now, to be honest with you. I can't see where any kind of move's going to come from. Same goes for Funky Chicken and Darry. They're quick, but they're not quick enough. Brendan looks in a very safe position right now.
Yeah, looking really solid here with J. Luke on the back of Luke. 05, J. Cole, sorry, coming up to the back of Luke. Trying to look around the inside of all the outside for the Piratella corner. Not close enough, runs a little bit wide as well. That's likely a warning for the Mercedes. We'll see if he can get that move done, but it's just stuck at the back at the moment. J. Luke is going to gain a couple places as it stands on Darry and J. Cole on penalties, so he'll be hoping to maybe get past Luke on track, and that could be a top 5 finish for J. Luke in his second race this season. That would be a good comeback to LOE for him, but YHYY in 9th is absolutely flying. Forza Brendan's now lost DRS range to RJ on this lap, so now he doesn't have that to help him tow himself along. Apart from Forza Brendan, Luke 05 and Passe were the only ones that stayed out. Luke 05 on the hards hasn't dropped as quickly as I thought he would. J. Cole's going to breeze past this time around on the straight, but Passe has been absolutely swamped. It seems at no point in this race has Passe looked comfortable on those tyres.
No, he's had a really weird race. Twice he's found himself up the top, and twice he's found himself just completely fall away in terms of performance. There's just he's not enjoying the track. Yeah, the second time he was up in the front, I think it was more fortuitous than anything with the way the safety car, with him staying out. Brendan is back out of DRS on RJ. I thought Brendan was staying in nicely, but the gap 1.1, Tin Can's narrowed the gap to 2 seconds, so perhaps we might see an on-track battle. We've only got 4 and a bit laps to go here, but there's a chance for Tin Can. 2 seconds is the gap behind him. I think they say Funky Chicken, Darry, J. Cole not going to make, and J. Luke and YHYY have contacted on the exit of Aqua Minerale. I'm not sure whose fault that was. I just caught the back of it, but 2 spinners there, and that puts J. Cole up into 6th. It puts Passe and Luke much more comfortable positions on their older tyres.
Yeah, that's a shame to see as well. J. Luke looking like he was having a good race. YHY trying to recover from losing his front wing on the first lap. Rikurka's also pitted in this race as well. He's dropped to the back for some front wing damage, so he is now down into 11th position in that Haas car. Lap 29, we've now started. The gap is 1.5 seconds between RJ and Forza Brendan. 1.7 is the gap between Brendan and Tin Can, our 2 championship leaders. Only a 3-point loss this time around for Tin Can, as opposed to what could have been a 7-point loss if there was no safety car earlier on. But either way, Forza Brendan is holding on.
Oh
There we go. Tin Can
no.
time penalty on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane with only 3.5 laps to go. That's nailing the coffin, surely. And if Funky Chicken can keep close enough, he can make it even worse for Tin Can here. Funky Chicken could jump himself onto the podium with that penalty. And just as I was saying that it's maybe damage limitation for Tin Can at this point in the race, it's just made it harder on himself.
They're the kind of mistakes you absolutely cannot afford to make when you're in title fight, particularly when you're in the position that Tin Can's in, where you're chasing the championship. Brendan could have afforded that, probably. Tin Can, absolutely not. He cannot put a foot wrong, and that is a silly little error that's going to cost him big in the long run, because he's not going to make any kind of gains on Brendan today. And, well, as you say, it could be double costly, because Funky Chicken is very much in Tin Can's penalty window. Further back, that's our only battle on track really right now, isn't it? It's Funky Chicken and Darry tussling over fourth place on track. Darry with a penalty. Other than that, we've actually got quite a field spread right now. No one, 1.2 between Tin Can and Brendan, and that's a meaningless gap with the penalty, is the next closest gap. Darry is safely through on Chicken, showing the speed that he promised in qualifying, but hasn't come for him necessarily in the race with the luck he's had. But that could just be that in terms of on-track position changes between now and the end of the race, because we've only got 2 and a bit laps to go, and well, no one's really looking in a position to make any kind of overtake.
No, it doesn't seem that way, does it, at the moment, at this point in the race? After that safety car restart, the field is completely spread out again. It seems like that safety car restart did more bad than it did for good for some of those people on the soft tyres. The only ones that have really made that much of an impact are the 2 McLarens, Tin Can and Funky Chicken. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a weird safety car restart. Still, 2 laps to go in this race. Tin Can's nearly within DRS range on the back of the Red Bull. So, if Brendan does pick up a penalty in these final 2 laps, that will put more incentive on Tin Can to try and get the move done on his championship rival, but he's not going to get DRS. The detection line is just before the first of the Ravazzas, and he was just outside of a second behind the Red Bull there, so he's not going to get it down the straight and force Brendan much more ERS. It's not going to derate down the pit straight, and that will help him pull away just that little bit more. So interested to see Funky Chicken concede that place to the McLaren of Darry so easily. Maybe he's thinking that Darry can pull himself a bit closer to the back of Tin Can, and Funky Chicken can get dragged along, and that's 2 places that he could secure easily on penalties.
I think you're spot on there. I think Funky Chicken is sniffing that he's got more of a chance to get Tin Can if he lets Darry, who's quicker than him, drag him along, because you think Tin Can might struggle for a little bit of focus, and he has a moment near the enemy there on the exit of Tosa. You just think Tin Can might struggle for a little bit of focus with that penalty. He's going to lose a little bit of speed, a couple of tenths, and Funky Chicken might think if he lets Darry drag him, he's in a better position here. The gap is 2.6 between Chicken and Tin Can, so I think Funky Chicken will have this position covered, because Tin Can's not really pulling away. Although, that said, Tin Can is now in Brendan's DRS, which will give him 3 or 4 tenths, maybe even more than that, down the pit straight with slipstream as well. So actually, I think Tin Can might just be safe from Funky Chicken if he does get this DRS, and I think he has.
Yeah, he has got it by the looks of things, so yeah, like you say, he could be safe down this pit straight. This could save his podium position, so we'll see what Darry and Funky Chicken do on these last few laps. Tin Can burning the ERS that he doesn't have to try and get closer to Forza Brendan and try and get faster in a straight line. Forza Brendan has burnt all of his ERS in that last lap, it seems. On to the final lap. The soft tyres for RJ haven't burnt out. Forza Brendan hasn't been able to come back at the McLaren, so we are staring at only our 6th different winner this season in RJ at round 13 of the season. Fair to say that ever since he's joined Excel, RJ has had an incredible run of form. In fact, in the last 3 rounds, if he wins this race, RJ would have been the highest point scorer of anyone in D3.
I think he'll have comfortably outscored anyone because of Tin Can's Monza and Brendan's Belgium. That was a bit of a tongue twister to try to say that 3 times fast. But yeah, RJ really the man in form in D3 right now. Not in qualifying, but certainly in the races, he's not putting a foot wrong. A little bit of luck, or a fair chunk of luck, in some cases where you can say it's come towards him. But today, the luck wasn't actually with him. The safety car came at the wrong time, but he's managed to make it work. He made the moves he needed to make, and RJ is going to take a thoroughly deserved win here.
Yeah, he is, because he comes through the final two corners then to end off the lap. RJ then, from last on the grid, disqualified in qualifying, RJ is going to win the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. Forza Brendan will finish second on the track. I don't think Funky Chicken's going to get Tin Can. No, he's not. So Tin Can holds on to the podium position by 0.2 of a second over Funky Chicken in the end. He holds on to third, but that is a net point loss to the championship leader of Forza Brendan, who extends his lead in this championship over the rest of the field by another 3 points then. Funky Chicken fourth, with Darry, I think, with easily his best finish of the season, fifth in the other McLaren. What a great day it is for McLaren here at Imola. Brilliant drive from him. And my word, last from first, RJ, what a performance. His third podium in a row. Where could he have been in this championship had he been in Division 3 from the very start?
You have to wonder, don't you? I mean, it's not necessarily the kind of races you'd expect from a title contender, where you're having to constantly overcome a difficult qualifying session. I wouldn't say long term that's sustainable if you want to put on a title challenge, but certainly last few races it has worked for him. And if he was here at the start, if he's practicing at the start, who knows? Maybe he could have been in this title fight. I think certainly he could well find himself finishing fourth or fifth in the championship at the rate he's going, even with 4 races left, because he's scored so many points. That's what is that? That's 55 in 3 races, and deservedly driver days from game. He's done the last to first challenge and he's completed it. What a drive from RJ, 17th to victory.
Brilliant, brilliant drive for the McLaren man. And like I mentioned, 6th different winner this season. Great to see more people starting to pick up wins as we get further into this championship. Here's the final results then. RJ wins for McLaren from the back of the field on an alternate strategy and a late safety car playing into his hands. Forza Brendan did what he could, stayed out at that safety car restart, one of only 4 drivers to stay out in the end. He manages to cling on to a second place finish. Tin Can survives for third place, just ahead of Funky Chicken in fourth, just 0.2 behind. Darry in fifth ahead of J. Cole, Luke, Passe, J. Luke, Rikurik, Chill and White Rai. The finishers and the point scorers here today, the top 12 in the end. It was a race of attrition in the end. Peter Gillis, Brent, Dara Trench and Carwin Robb, most crucially our pole sitter, out of the race. And you've got to say, with that result, with Tin Can and Forza Brendan on the podium and Carwin Robb out, surely that's championship over for Carwin Robb.
I have to think so, and to be honest, I don't want to say it, but I think it's championship over for Tin Can as well. I think Forza Brendan has just been in imperious form this season, barring a couple of errors. I think Spain and Belgium and Hungary are the ones that stand out, but beyond that, you can't really fault the man. He hasn't, when the race is full for him, he does everything right, and he did what he needed to do today with that second place. Very nicely done from Brendan. And yeah, I think that's it. I think he almost won the championship. 38-point lead, 44-point lead with 4 races to go. Tin Can needs to overturn it. 11 points a race. I can't see that, but I live to be surprised. That's what we entertain ourselves with this for, because we don't know what's going to happen. So maybe in future we could be talking in 4 races time with Tin Can as champion. Who knows? But for now, I think Brendan's got it.
Who knows? Yeah, we may have just jinxed Brendan there, and he might be cursing us after this commentary, but we'll wait and see. But I think we do have our race winner in the party, it seems, XORJ. First of all, is your voice streaming in my parties? Because usually it doesn't work. Is it working right this time around?
Well, let's hope so. I've changed the settings and everything.
We'll wait and see. So yeah, fingers crossed it's working. I'm sure someone will let us know on the streamy end. But, well, we said it a couple of times on stream. What on earth has happened to you since you've joined XL? The last 3 races, 3 podiums in a row, from last on the grid, disqualified in qualifying, to ending up winning the race at Imola. What a drive from you! How was that from your side of things?
I felt, to be honest, I was practicing it. I didn't feel good, but I got into the race, and the pace just, I felt really quick. I was staying with a lot of the soft runners on the mediums, and the pace of the mediums just didn't drop off at all. Not really until Tin Can and Brendan came up behind me. Started closing up. But the pace was really good, and I got a bit lucky with the safety car timing. Could have been 1 lap earlier. I would have been in the lead a lot quicker. But no, the pace of the mediums was very good. That first stint was excellent, and I just managed to be the lead car on softs at the end.
Yeah, brilliant drive from yourself in the end. So kind of talk us through your thoughts after that safety car. Of course, you were, I believe, fifth in the queue after the safety car restart. You got through the pack fairly quickly, a lot quicker than the rest of the soft runners in the end. You got through that pack very quickly. At that point, did you think you had a shot of winning this race, or was it a case of trying to get as best as you could at that point?
No, I knew I had the pace. I knew Brendan had been on the mediums for nearly 10 laps at that point, so
Yeah.
I knew just the tyre difference. I knew I had the pace over him. I did get through really quickly. I think I got 2 positions in the first sector or 2. So yeah, Once I got through, once I got past, I think I got into 3rd. And at that point, I was like, yeah, okay, I can win this race.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant in the end, and you did end up winning that race. Mentioned it. It's your 3rd podium in a row now. After, well, it's fair to say that the Italian rounds have gone incredibly well for you. So I'm sure that there may be a good luck charm for you going into other league races in future. I mean, we mentioned it the last 2 times you've been in here. Has your prediction for the rest of this championship changed again? Because you went up to 10th place in the standings last time out. That's now another 25 points on top of it. I'm sure you would have jumped at least a couple of places in the standings now. Theoretically, with how the races went for the likes of Luke and Brent, a 4th place finish in the championship isn't out of the question. So, is that something that you think you can achieve?
I don't know. I still think I've been a bit. I need to sort out my qualifying. I know that I keep making stupid mistakes, or just not getting in a good lap, and then in the races, I have benefited from other people's mistakes, and that's not always going to happen. So, if it just keep on happening, yeah, never say never. But at the moment, it's still probably. It's probably moved up from beating Calvin to getting in amongst the guys ahead of him. I think Chicken and Jay Collar up there. So that's probably my battle now.
Yeah, really, really well. I mean, considering where you were just 5 rounds ago, that is a massive turn of fortune for you. So it's been a really, really good run in the last 2 rounds. Jake, have you got anything you'd like to ask?
Oh, just congratulations, because that reminds me of your Russia race where things just fell nicely for you. But that safety car did come out a lap after you pitted. At that point, were you kicking yourself and thinking you would have had a chance for a win and it had been snatched away from you by making the pit stop a lap too early, or were you still there and thinking, I've still got a chance here?
About half a second, the split second I was gutted because I thought a lot of these guys are going to pit and I'm just going to get overtaken. But then I realised that I was close enough to those guys that they'd pit and come out behind me. I'd have the track position. I knew a few people probably wouldn't pit, and at that point, you're in 5th with no one in front of you on softs. It's yours for the taking. So the split second, yes, but I kind of saw I was kind of a bit optimistic for once about it.
You saw the long game ahead of you. Well, the last stint was it did come for you really nicely. I was surprised how well you dropped Brendan. I was not expecting that at all. But congratulations, and I'm sure, as Aidan says, 4th in the championship beckons for you now, because clearly you're allergic. You're not allergic. You're addicted to the podium now. You can't stay away from it.
Yeah, addicted to it, like you say. Highest point score in the last 3 rounds, by the way, you are, RJ. So that's something to keep a hold of. It's been a brilliant run for you in the second half of the season so far. So long may it continue, hopefully. Thank you for joining us in the party. By the way, we could hear you on stream. Hallelujah. So everything is recorded this time around, which is great to see. So thank you, RJ, for joining us. Brendan can't, unfortunately, join us in the party today, so we're going to move straight over to our 3rd place finisher, Tin Can, in this one then. Held on to 3rd in the end by just 0.2 of a second over Funky Chicken. Good drive from yourself in the end. It was good pace. I mean, considering we'll probably touch on it a bit, considering this is not exactly a pad-friendly circuit. You were, I would say, easily the fastest pad driver here tonight. Unfortunately, though, at the end, it didn't quite fall your way. How was that one from your side of things?
After seeing Rob and Brendan's laps in quali, I was hoping just to stick with him in the race, and obviously Rob, I think, spun off lap 2 or something, but the gap we had after a few laps was insane, so I knew if I stuck with Brendan I could do something around the pit stops, and I did, luckily. And then the safety car came out, and I had to go for it. I didn't see myself keeping the likes of RJ and that all behind on mediums, to be honest, so yeah. Still glad with P3, as it's good points, especially after missing a few races.
yeah, like I say, missing a few races as well, and of course that horror show that happened last week, unfortunately. Yeah, good result from the end. Talk about that pit strategy under the safety car. Then was it a case of you were always going to come in for the softs, or was it a case of you maybe doing the opposite to what Brendan was going to do?
No, I was always pitting, even if Brendan pitted too. I knew kind of like I did a bit of practice earlier in the week on like stuff at the end of the race in case I had a bad quality or whatnot, and I knew they were absolutely rapid at the end, so I knew I could get past the likes of Passe and Damon and all that quite easily. So I thought if I can do that, I can get back on to Brendan quickly.
Yeah,
And try
exactly.
and get him.
Yeah. Well, in the end, unfortunately, that it worked out in some way. You were able to get back up onto the podium, but we could see that you were pushing very hard in that last part of the race to try and catch Brendan. And then, unfortunately, you got that penalty right at the end of the race. Did you think without that penalty you could have got Brendan, or do you think third was the best you could have managed for in that situation?
I mean, I was trying to get the move done on Brendan anyway because I do think I had 2 warnings, but I ended up getting a third one even after my penalty anyway, so it wouldn't have made a difference in the end. But originally I thought I had 2 warnings, so I was going to go for the move on Brendan if I could anyway. But it didn't work out. I'm still happy with the podium anyway around here.
Yeah, around this track especially, yeah, brilliant achievement for you to be on the podium yourself. Jake, have you got anything you'd like to add?
Well, with the gap to Brendan now at 44 points, have you reevaluated your expectations? Do you think you're now in a fight to keep Carbon Rob for second, or are you still going to go for broke in the last 4 races? And are you all about going for first rather than trying to hold on to second?
I think I said it to a few people after not being there for Italy. I wanted to win every race the rest of the season just to give myself a chance, and hopefully Brendan makes a mistake somewhere or something. So yeah, that's still the aim, and just see what happens. Worst case, I get a second.
I love that fight and talk. We'll want to see a championship battle, even if it's a slim chance of one. So congratulations on third place.
Thank you.
Hopefully there's another good result for you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like you said, anything can happen in the final 4 rounds. It could swing back your way. So by no means is the championship over. So yeah, congratulations on another podium finish this season, and thanks for joining us in the party. That's where we're going to finish off the stream today, guys. That is Imola over and done with. It was a brilliant race in the end, as we expected. Jake, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I say it did not disappoint, did it? It was a cracking race. First LOE race at Imola, and it served up an absolute treat. Disappointed for Carbon Rob to DNF that one because I thought we could have had a cracking battle between our 3 title contenders. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and I have to say RJ, a deserved 6th winner, and always nice to see a new winner as well. So absolutely great fun, and lovely to commentate alongside yourself, as always, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, looking forward to next week, like you say as well, back in a week's time for a round that I can't fully remember. Mexico. Yeah, Mexico next time out. So a completely different track with a completely different strategy possibly available to these drivers. So that'll be another one that'll be great to watch. Tune into that one this time next week at 6:30 p.m. Of course, tune in about 15 minutes time for Divisions 2 and 5. And you can go back and watch Divisions 1, 3 again if you wish, and Divisions 4 on the LOE channel now as well. They should have all been wrapped up, those streams as well, so make sure you tune into those. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us tonight, and we will see you again in a week's time for round 14 of the season. Thank you very much, and goodbye.